Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. In War of the Visions, let's do a level 120 review of Cetia, the second Crystal Fest unit. Maybe more interesting than Cetia herself is the perception of fire at Cetia's release in JP and Global. It seems in the global meta, a fire-dominant team never really existed. This is mind-boggling to me as a JP player because from the time of Classy Glassy's release in April, all the way to Arstoria's release in January, Fire kind of had an unbroken streak as a top 4 team in PvP, and at times it was number 1. It was seen as tanky and reliable, and one of the best matchups against Evade. Especially with Classic Glassy built up for Evade hunting. And then if you look at the Leonis Coliseum PvP tournament that culminated at the 2nd anniversary livestream, you can see that most people built around the potential fire matchup, and the map really favored Setia, and then the eventual champion used fire. I still remember that when Setia was announced in JP, plenty of people groaned like, ugh, fire is strong enough, and now they get this? I guess that's the difference a few Global First units makes. Another thing baffling to me is like everybody's saying the fire vision cards are like no good. Again, for a very long time in JP, fire was kind of known as one of the strongest elements for vision cards. It's just fascinating to see the difference between the two. And then one other thing I want to say, not directly concerning Cetia, but it's the setup of the Crystal Fest banner, which is probably important to cover since it seems a lot of global players are not familiar with how Fest banners work in Japanese mobile games. I made a video going over that. I'll put that in a link below. But there's something I want to add to that video, which is that in JP, we're in the month after Arstoria's release, and the Crystal Fest banner has not returned. Nobody has any idea when the banner will return. So if anybody wanted these Crystal Warriors, pulling them now, I think would be good. Don't want to pressure anybody, but yeah. If it's like every 3 months or something, I'm sure people in Global are familiar with that, you know, trying to pull Zazan after the fact or something, so yeah. If you want to pull Setia, now is the time. Alright, but let's talk about Setia. Alright, there's her 3D model and her animation. Very cool. Alright, and then we'll do the top line thoughts here at the beginning. And she can do a lot, so I was actually kind of worried I was going to be able to fit it all in a font that was legible. But she is a top class ranged attacker. She has defense breaks and fire in peril, which I love, especially in mainly attackers. She has a lot of penetration as well, like projectile resistance penetration, defense penetration. So she could act as a tank buster as well. In the recent Arena Showcase video, I showed about 7,000 damage on Mont, for example. She has good magic resistance, so she can do well against magic attackers. Lots of status effects, some of which have good synergy with other fire units. And that's another like bullet point I could put on her, really great synergy with the other fire units. I think she would be a fine choice for a rainbow team. Just pair her with a tank of any element, and then like maybe another attacker or something, and you got yourself a team. But yeah, really like designed with other fire units in mind with her kit. What else? She's got like big AoEs, which somebody like Jaden does not have. She has re-raise removal, which is kind of unique, not very common, and very powerful against some future characters. She's got reflex, so she survives pretty well. She has barrier break from the sniper subjob. For some downsides with her, she doesn't have a lot of variety of attacks. Like Jaden, again, I'm going to compare her to Jaden a lot because I think they're a good comparison. Jaden has like jamming thrust, so if he's going against somebody with good projectile resistance, he can kind of change over to jamming thrust in order to keep his damage up. Setia kind of doesn't have that option. And then also, she does not have a 100% hit attack, which seems to be reason enough for everybody to write her off. But I compared her to all of the other ranged attackers, and then her dexterity and luck is very comparable to everybody, so outside of the 100% hit attacks, she's going to hit about as often as all of the other ranged attackers, which I've never really run into an issue with. Setia in how she plays is in line with all of the other long-range attackers. I'm talking about like Jaden and other folks like that. Useful and powerful, but not overpowered. I really feel like the developers are being careful with the ranged units, which is absolutely the way they should go if they have a game balance in mind. Anyone who's played the original Tactics Ogre knows what I'm talking about. It's like if the longest range characters also had the top tier damage, why would you use anyone else? But despite not being the best attacker in the game, she's absolutely worth the 100 cost. I think she compares very favorably to Jaden. And then she has some like things that she's good at that Jaden is not, and then things that Jaden is good at that she is not. I'll talk about that as we go through the skills. But yeah, as the character, she's my favorite of the Crystal Fest units. If you know me, you know that I like tomboys. Personality-wise, she's a little bit similar to Miranda. But while Miranda's a little bit more laid back, Setia's more fiery. If they were fighting over me, Cetia might be more fun, but maybe Miranda would be the better choice for like a long-term kind of thing. Anyway, that's too much information. Alright, let's talk about Setia's stats. As I said, dexterity and luck, very comparable to other ranged attackers. Move 3, jump 2. This jump 2 is very important for her because she is an archer and has so many arching attacks. Getting a favorable position elevation-wise is very, very important for her. It can extend her range, it can make her more difficult to hit. And then her attack value is not very amazing on paper, but again, she has lots of breaks, imperils, and penetration, so I think she's going to surprise global people with her damage output. Again, if you've seen my arena showcases of her, then you've seen what she can do. Faith, she might be a good candidate to take to 97, actually, because she has, the reflex and the magic resistance. She can do well against magic attackers, even with high faith, and then she has some status effects that would benefit from that. Alright, and then speaking of resistances, 30 to magic. I think that's the highest out of the box, not counting the Snow White Guard. And then Trustmaster, this is pretty good. Got some accuracy and agility there. And the TP skill here, AoE buff to raise projectile attack, and then for self, restore some AP. This is not an AP refresh, this is a one-time thing, but yeah, still could be nice. Okay, and then jobs, we have a new main job for her, and then Viking and Sniper. I was talking earlier about how Jaden has access to that, other kind of attack type in Jamming Thrust. Setia does technically have slash attacks with Viking, but she's never really going to be able to use it. Just because the range is so short, and you don't want her to get too close to other people, so yeah, in effect, she really only has the projectile type of attack. But again, she has good projectile resistance penetration, so not that much of a problem for her. Okay, but let's look at the board and the skills. Whoops. And we'll look at her main job first. Okay, here's a single target attack which will break re-raise. This is very useful against Locke, who's going to be everywhere once he is released. Medium damage, and then has a chance of stun. Another thing I should point out, her attack value on paper is not amazing, and then all of the multipliers on her skills are like medium or small. It's like her limit break is the only one with big multipliers, and yet she's still going to do really good damage, so yeah, she's a hard character to judge on paper. And then we see the elevation range there is 5, so yeah, she can, if she gets any kind of elevation, she's going to be able to extend that. Shoot up, shoot down, yeah. Okay, here's one of her marquee attacks. Big AoE, which again, Jaden does not have. But this will break reaction rate, and so that makes her a good matchup against like Jaden with the Magic Reflex, or Yuna with the Eon Bond, or Cloud with Reflex, or Federica with Reflex. Anybody with a really powerful reaction skill, Setia is going to be a good choice. Medium damage here, and then lower healing efficacy. That's kind of cool. Again, the 5 verticality. Okay, AoE buff. This will raise single target resistance, and then for self, raise own agility. Being able to AoE buff single target resistance is pretty darn good. And if she can put that on like your tank, you know, turn 1 or something, that's a nice start there. Okay, here is a small damage and then 3-turn attack break. I don't usually use this. I've said this before, but I think you can take Cetia in one of 2 ways, either damage dealer or supporter with like breaks and status effects and stuff. I more enjoy using her as an attacker, so this kind of a thing I will turn off. One thing maybe I forgot to say in the top line thoughts. All of the ranged attackers are a little bit difficult to use in auto battle because you have to kind of fiddle with their abilities on-off. Some players really dislike doing that. But like, what is it? The AI will prioritize attacks, and so the attacks with the longest range will get the priority rather than the ones that are shorter range. And so if you want to use a shorter range attack, which has like a break or something that you like, you might have to turn off some other attacks with a longer range. And so yeah, it might take some testing to get what you want out of Setia. Okay, here's a self-buff, raise a slash and magic resistance, and then increase range +1. I like this self-buff, but I have it turned off here. Okay, and here, this is one of my most favorite attacks with her. This is a medium range, medium damage, defense break. I love breaks way more than penetration, and being able to do that here is pretty great. And then for 3 turns as well. It's not just for herself, so she can set up some teammates. And yeah, we're seeing the elevation 5 on all of these attacks. That's a big advantage that she has over someone like Jaden, or you know, more like a gunner like Luasa or Lucia. Because being able to you know, fire over teammates or fire over walls, or being able to shoot down from a high elevation is very powerful. That's why when I was talking about Jaden, he has that one arcing attack. That's why I was calling it his best attack, because it is more versatile with targeting. Yeah, on the right maps, having that vertical range is very, very important. Okay, let's look at the sub-job skills. Let's see, medium damage has a chance of Berserk. And Berserk, that's nice synergy with the other fire units, because Classy Glassy, for example, she has an attack which will get greater damage if the target is berserked, so that's good synergy there. And here's a ranged TP skill. Chance of Paralyze. I would rather that she use some like buffs for herself or her partners rather than doing the status effects, but this could be good for PvE maybe. Okay, and then usually I'm using the sniper subjob. We got arm shoot, paralyzed trap, target share, barrier break arrow, slow shoot, and aiming. I generally use just the barrier break arrow because this really adds to her damage dealing capability. And I feel like that when people get sniper as a subjob, they get either dispel spread or barrier break, and that's a hard choice to make. Dispel, of course, is amazing, but for a damage dealer, I think barrier break arrow is the better choice, and she uses this quite a bit from what I've seen of her AI. But yeah, Helena, Garble, she's a good match against them for the barrier break arrow. So yeah, it could be useful against Dark as well. Okay, then finally we have Viking, which we'll probably never use. And we got the Knee Breaker. What is this? Attack and defense, self-buff, War Cry, Launch, Drain Cyclone. Yeah, probably not going to use that. Okay, support abilities. I have equipped Agility up, Projectile Resistance Penetration, and used AP down. I can see why I'm using that. And then the Sniper support ability, Projectile Attack up, Luck up. That could give you some more accuracy. Good for using her as an attacker. Viking, HP up, Attack up. That one's pretty good. Range +1. Projectile Resistance Penetration up. This could be good against certain enemies. Again, maybe for PvE, or if you're going against a tank that you know has that built up. and then range +2. And I don't believe the 2 range ones stack. You'll just get whatever one is higher, so you only need to use 1, I believe. Okay, reaction ability. We got reflex. I think you're going to want to put that on all the time. Otherwise, we got counter smoke or the berserk one. Yeah, let's use reflex. Okay, and then limit break. Good range, a little bit of AoE, big damage. So yeah, I think that's the only big damage multiplier that she has. And then fire and peril. So yeah, great damage from this. Good for setting up teammates. And master ability, we have the typical party fire buff. And then for self, defense penetration +20, magic resistance +10. Having the always-on defense penetration is pretty good. She doesn't need a buff for that. And then, what was it? This one here? Yeah. This is the projectile resistance penetration. I think that's 40, which is insane. You could give her the diamond coat. And that would give her another 20. So yeah, you could get... no, 15. So you can get her, what, 55? Projectile resistance penetration, so that's pretty crazy. But yeah, very solid unit. And then let's talk about vision cards. I guess I'll talk about Brachiosaur first. First of all, I want to say that any character, especially a damage dealer, cost 100, that has their own specific vision card and own specific Esper is very powerful. So we're thinking about Jaden with like Bahamut or his own personal card, Oberon with Eleficaris. So yeah, if you can get the pieces together, I think it's a very strong package. And it would actually make her easier to splash into another element team, just because you can kind of make an all-in-one character with that setup. But here we have projectile attack up 35, and then agility up 8, and single target resistance up at 99, and then personal abilities gained AP up 30, attack up 10, and then AP as a stat as well, so that's pretty darn good. And if we focus on fire cards, this one's very important if you're going to pair her with Classy Glassy. But this will buff the magic, also buff accuracy for the team, slash resistance up, and then for self, accuracy up 23, so yeah. This is kind of a necessary piece to put onto Gorasida to make her an evade hunter. And then if you have that set up with Cetia, I think you can pretty comfortably go against evade teams. If you do not have this card and Gorasida, maybe skip bringing Cetia against evade teams. And what else we got? This is a limited time card, so that's unfortunate. But yeah, fire attack up. You could also put this on Gorasida or Rain or Terra in the future to take advantage of that magic buff there. And we got this guy, which I like actually, but raise HP. Defense break resistance up 20, max damage up for self, area of effect up 10, attack up 10. I like this card for Setia actually. Could be a good sub card. What else we got? Phoenix, this is pretty... Whoa. I'm going to try to remember what this does. It gives you magic resistance for your party, and then Pierce attack up, so you could use it on Christmas Mashidi. I don't know about using Cetia and Christmas Mashidi together as like a projectile team. I don't know if there would be enough damage output, but yeah. What else we got? Ifrit, just regular old attack up. If you have an extra slot, that could be okay. We got the accuracy card here, although I don't know if you need it. I would more recommend the kind of the universal buff cards. Like here we have a Tupong. This has the magic attack up. You could put that on Rain or Gorasida, and then it will buff accuracy 15 for everybody. Or you could go for Aigaion. You could put this on your physical attackers like Megamont or whomever. This will also give you accuracy up 15. We got the Death Machine card. I would love to get this if it ever comes back, but also area of effect resistance up. And then finally we can look at the Brachiosaur, the board. What do we got? Magic resistance, water resistance, projectile attack up, ice slayer attack up, fire attack up, critical rate up, and accuracy up. So yeah, Setia, she's got the specialized vision card and Esper for her. And teammates good for her. So I think she's very worth going for. Nobody should regret getting and then leveling her. In the short run, she might run into trouble with the upcoming water meta. But in the long run, of course, you know, all of the elements are going to cycle in and out when they're in vogue. And then also, we don't know when the Crystal Fest Hatcher is going to be coming around again. So yeah, I think people, if they have any interest in pulling Cetia, they should do it now. Okay, that'll do it for this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.